You see this bell icon here? Hit it now and we'll ensure you get delivered the very best of reviews, interviews and pop culture content.
There are films that are very, set, and it doesn't matter whether you've met before or haven't. But then there are films like these where, of course, we're also good actors, but I think it just helps. And those are those intangible things. It's that energy that you can't put your finger on. You don't know where that energy in this movie is coming from, but it's really coming from us just being extremely comfortable with each other, physically and emotionally.
I was done with the over romantic idea of movies and relationships. So just wanted to find something messier, something more complicated, more complex. And I think Woody Allen said in one of his books, eros and chaos makes for great cinema. And it stuck with me. And I was like, yeah, that's it. Let's go in that direction.
Hi, everyone. First of all, it's so lovely to see you, even though it's only in Zoom boxes. Welcome back, everybody, to Film Companion. And Dhairya, shout out to you. This is your first one.
Yes, ma'am.
I hope I'm not mangling your name.
No, it's perfect. You've got to try it. It's Dhairya.
Okay. I have to tell you, I really, really liked the trailer. These people in Gehraiya seem imperfect. The relationships seem messy. All of it looks and feels very adult. And I want to come back and talk about that. But first, we need to decode the Shakun Batra process. Deepika, last time we spoke, you said to me that in fact, actors who work with Shakun can easily work with Sanjay Leela Bhansali because Shakun is the man who is never happy. Shakun gets his actors to do 40, 45 takes. And you said it's enormously satisfying. It's exhausting, but it's very satisfying. Shakun, you've talked about choreographing chaos. And I love the sound of that. Can you all talk a little bit more about this? What is it like to choreograph chaos? How are all of you actors dealing with it? And first of all, Shakun, what does that mean?
So I think as filmmaking has evolved, if you see the old coverage style, people just stood in a frame. It felt a lot like theater, but with just like wide shots and close-ups. But I think as I started to see more evolved, sophisticated cinema, I saw how the camera participated, how the sound participated, and how every element added up to that feeling of chaos, right? So how do you give a sense of claustrophobia, or how do you give a sense of freedom, or how do you give a sense? You have to give a visual sense to the emotion you're trying to create. And for me, that's like choreography. It's a choreography between different aspects of filmmaking, right? It's choreography between the camera and the sound and the actors. So for me, when I spoke about choreographing chaos, and to be honest, it's a little pretentious. I accept it because I'm always looking for fancy terms so things can sound nice, but it's actually just you figuring out shit on the set. I think what happens is when you have multiple actors and you have a scene where every actor is going at it, you need to find a way to shoot it to just accentuate that feeling of chaos. And for me, that just takes time. That takes time on the set. It takes time on the edit. It takes time on the sound design. But it's extremely satisfying. Before all my actors kill me for all the number of takes I do, it's like I'm also choreographing chaos in my head when I'm shooting. So it can be a messy process, but at the end of the day, I feel satisfied. And I've been very fortunate before the actors abuse me to tell you that I've had actors who've just been very giving. And so I could only do this because everybody who works with me allows me to kind of go in that direction. So that's that. And there is no Shakun Batra process, Anu. There is just Shakun Batra chaos. And then everyone has to help me resolve it. And I've had very intelligent collaborators help me do that.
So, okay, Deepika, how do you help him resolve this? How did you deal with, you've been an actor for 15 years. Your IMDb credits are at like 48 or something. How would you make peace with the fact? Absolutely. How do you make peace with the fact that he's asking you for a 48th take?
अरे यार 48 take तो नहीं है, please. थोड़ा तो नाम
This
बचा
true.
दो यार.
This is
थोड़ा
true,
तो
and
नाम
I
बचा दो,
have
please.
and I have my friends who will vouch for this. So I know that I'm not alone in this battle. You can see Ananya going, yes.
Once Shakun made me do 48 variations in one take. So instead of like increasing the take count, in one take only, he was like, now do 48 different things. So that was his trick.
But you have. So I work with directors who know exactly what they want, and then you have directors who have no clue what they want. And here you have Shakun, who's so unique because he knows
Oh, okay, thank
exactly
God.
what.
Thank God.
One second. Because he knows exactly what he wants, but he's also figuring it out. So he sits right in the middle, which is a process I have never experienced. So when people say, what is it like working with him? Like, so I'm like, yeah, I mean, he makes you do like 48 takes. And they're like, oh, so he doesn't know what he wants. And I say, no, but actually he knows what he wants. So I know we're laughing about it, but it's also very interesting. Like, I've never worked with someone in this manner because it's not like he doesn't know and he's figuring it out. He knows exactly what he wants. And it's probably him just going after that. And at the same time, maybe because of the way we were shooting this film, very sort of handheld and, the camera keeps moving, maybe it gave him the opportunity to also try different things so that he has that flexibility, on the edit table. So it's probably a little bit of that. But I think, how does an actor go with that? I think just trust in his process, trust in his vision, trust in his process, and go with the flow. Is it exhausting? Yes. But I don't think you need to say that because he's very perceptive. He picks up on these things. So I think really if you just trust his process, trust his vision, and just go with it, I think, you're in a good place.
How did the rest of you do it? It can be something that throws people off. Siddhant, Ananya, Dhairya, how did you guys sort of adjust to this?
For me, I think it was, obviously, I mean, there were a lot of takes, but for me, I would take it as breaking our Bollywood conditioning. We've been conditioned in a way, we've watched a certain kind of cinema and we've acted it out. So to break that, I think we took at least I took, a lot of takes to break that rhythm, to break the way things are done in a romantic film. If it's a romantic film or it's whatever kind of film it is, there is a certain way, there's a certain tone, there's a certain rhythm with which actors go, and because that's what you've seen. We have seen international cinema, but it's not in our language. So when you do it in our language, in our society, according to our environment, it becomes different. So to try to replicate that is not the answer, but to try to create something new, taking the same process, taking the same method and putting that in this with English, as the language. So I think for me, it was primarily what he was trying to slyly do is break us, out of our comfort zones, out of, okay, ये line मुझे ऐसे बोलनी है because मैंने 1000 बार ऐसे सुनी हुई है. वो line ऐसे बोलनी because that's how I've heard it, or that's how I felt impact when I was watching it in theater. Some amazing legends do it. So I think what he's done with me at least is that he's broken that, and that's why he used to just, for the sake of it, for my happiness, he used to take those ham takes for me. After he used to get a okay take, I used to do it in Salman sir's accent or Shah Rukh sir's way. I used to do it because he's like,
Yeah.
So I used to still do it.
Which reminds me of, I remember doing an interview with Varun Dhawan and Sriram for Badlapur, and Varun said that was his first instinct as well. He did this really emotional scene and he went fully into it and thought like at the end of it, I've done like Oscar worthy. And Sriram just looked shell-shocked and said, nahi, come karo. So Ananya,
I have to say something
for you as well? Because I mean, Hindi cinema so far, you've had 3 releases, but they have wanted you to be very much in the glamorous leading lady role. Did this break you?
I have a story very similar to, but can I say it, Shakun?
I don't know which story. So go
Oh,
for it.
okay. Don't kill me later. But basically, so there was this scene where I really had to, cry and just like put all my emotions. And I was like, this is my big scene. I'd marked it in, the script. I was like, today is going to be the day. So I've gone in. So it was just me alone, okay, in the bathroom with a camera. So Shakun is sitting outside and I've cried and cried. And I'm like, I come out and I'm like, Shakun's going to be like, wow, like what a performance. And I come out and Shakun is just cracking up. He's like laughing at my face. And I was like, have I done some really awful job? But Shakun, I think, has a problem with people crying. He can't keep a straight face, which is very strange because he's a very sensitive director. So you would think otherwise. But once even Deepika and I had a scene where we were emotional, we had to make Shakun sit in another room because he could not stop laughing. So for
Because
some
the stomachs
reason,
were making all kind of noises, and I had my headphones on in between their crying, I could hear the stomach like.
I'm sorry, but I'm with her on this one because this was one of those days where it was past lunchtime. It was almost tea time, and we were on our 148th take, and you still wanted us to sort of emote
one
like
here
from here.
Yeah.
And then the stomach would go in between our silences and go good.
But I have to say, so something weird. I love writing these scenes where characters are going through like these heavy emotions. But when I'm on set, I get so awkward that I have to stay away from the eye line of the actors because I know I can laugh at any point. And it just happens specifically on the days when we are shooting serious stuff that I would have these laughing fits. I've had it on Kapoor and Sons when Ratna's breaks down after Rajat passes away. I had to hide myself in the bathroom and shove a jacket in my mouth to not laugh. I don't know why it happens. And on this one, it was just their stomachs making all kind of noises and with my headphones on. That's all I could hear. I could not hear the dialogues anymore. I could just only hear the stomach sounds.
That was your cue to call lunch break, Shakun.
But listen. I know there are a lot of these stories and all of that, but we've had an insane amount of fun on this set. I mean, honestly, I've only made 3 films. I've worked on many films as an AD. I think once in a while you step on a movie set where everybody just becomes friends, and you feel like you're in a film school making a film with a bunch of friends, and the egos are left behind. People step on set. You can have a conversation. You can have a laugh. You can have a bad day, and the other person understands you're having a bad day. And I think for me, that's what makes this film special for me. Of course, the process, all of that can put aside as an experience, and especially as an experience during COVID, where things were so hard. I think this is the best thing that could have happened to me, and I'm sure others feel the same way, to have gone through this film and had such a great experience. So I'm so thankful for that. Everything else is a bonus,
Yeah.
I just wanted to, sorry, because you had asked me that question before. I want to give a serious answer as well. But honestly, I agree with what Deepika says, because I think Shakun's, when he asks us to do multiple takes, it doesn't come from a place of confusion. It comes from a place of exploration, which is a lot of fun. Because as actors, when someone's asking us to give different variations, it's fun, it's an enjoyable process. So I think when you look, I think sometimes we have this connotation that too many takes means you're doing a bad job. But I think when you take it as many takes being exploring something and trying something different, I think that's what it was with Shakun. It was trying something different and going in your gehraiyan of what you can actually bring out.
So,
and I'll Paytm you the money.
I got you.
Did you feel that when you walked on this set that you could be friends as the sort of the person who's the newest of the lot? Did you feel that egos were left behind?
Absolutely, ma'am. And before I start, I want to. Shakun is very bad at receiving compliments, so bear with me, Shakun. But it's him really who set the tone and who made a very conducive environment where we got to know each other. It was so effortless. It all started from my first meeting where I was welcomed and made to feel that I was a part of this film, and being an equal. So it all started from Shakun. And I remember the whole prep journey in Goa where, we start the day with doing yoga together, everyone, and then having breakfast or going through our workshop. So we spent the entire day together. And by the time we came around shooting for the film, we were friends. And it was very effortless, really. And Shakun's process was just paired out so perfectly for me because he likes to be prepared. I like to be prepared, and especially when this is my first time where I am going to be seeing an elite part, so there's more responsibility. So the more prepared you are, the better. So it just paired out perfectly with me as well. And thanks to these lovely people around me who've just made me feel part of this, and they welcomed me with all their hearts. It's got everything to do with their magnanimity and their heartedness, rather than my confidence of what I was able to do. It's just that they made such an environment where I could bloom.
Actually, I just want to add one thing. I think it started with Deepika because I remember COVID was opening up and she called me and she said, why don't we all go to Goa a little more in advance? She said that we should spend a little more time together, understand, each other. We can do readings. And I mean, for me, that just like a huge gift. And I think once she said it, once we went there, she made sure that, every night we met for dinner in one of the rooms. And I think she kind of, it started from there. And then everyone took the lead. Sid would have his fun day when he wants to play the music or, walks on the beach. But I remember that call, and I think that sometimes such small things, just saying, let's go there early. It sounds like such a small thing, but it can just change the whole vibe of the film, and I feel I'm extremely thankful that happened. And it's really changed how we worked on the project.
Yeah.
That's a great idea, Deepika.
I mean, it's eventually when you do films like this, I just feel like so much of it, so much of the energy that comes from the characters is really, I think, how we feel for each other. And so many of the moments in the film are not directed because that's just the way the film is. So much of it is just us having a moment or like goofing around or so sure, there are films that are very set, and it doesn't matter whether you've met before or haven't, but then there are films like these where, of course, we're also good actors, but I think it just helps. And those are those intangible things. It's that energy that you can't put your finger on. You don't know where that energy in this movie is coming from, but it's really coming from us just being extremely comfortable with each other, physically and emotionally. And I think the time that we spent with each other, and the workshops that Shakun thought of, really helped us break all of those boundaries, all of those barriers. We were really just discovering each other as people. And I feel like that discovery eventually translated into what we've been able to put into our performances.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But, as I watched, I was thinking that largely speaking, Hindi cinema hasn't really delved into the messiness of relationships. Our most sort of iconic romantic films, prescribe to the notion of this sort of epic love, this Janam Janmantar ka saath, which is frankly, it's swoony and lovely to watch, but not very realistic. So Shakun, what were your references when you were writing and creating this film?
I think just like you said, I think one of the things that weren't sitting with me well was just the oversimplified idea of love. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily movies, but it's the kind of readings, books that I was reading. I love this book called Easter Parade, which really was about, gave me a lot to kind of draw from. As you know, I'm a huge Woody Allen fan, and the way he deals with relationships and infidelity, that was something that was playing on my mind. I've spoken about Hannah and Her Sisters being one of my all-time favorites. So I have always, tried to understand or wanted to understand love from a broader point of view. And, love's just on a huge, on a spectrum. Love and hate is just the opposite of each other. And then there's lust, and then there's jealousy and insecurity and betrayal. All of that kind of falls on that spectrum. And for me, I wanted to see all of that. So it's definitely not a poetry on first love. Nor it is us trying to figure out pros and cons of monogamy. So for me, it was just trying to understand characters who step outside the conventional boundaries of a relationship, and how far they go trying to make that work. Because there is no such affair that doesn't get murky at some point. So for me, I really wanted to see these characters go in that zone. I was done with the over romantic idea of movies and relationships. So just wanted to find something messier, something more complicated, more complex. And I think Woody Allen said in one of his books, eros and chaos makes for great cinema. And it stuck with me. And I was like, yeah, that's it. Let's go in that direction.
Was there any concern at all about image, or are we as now as a movie watching culture, have we just gone past that? Because I remember Karan telling me when he made Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, he couldn't actually show Shah Rukh and Rani checking into, he could show them at the reception of the hotel, but he couldn't actually show them sort of going up into that hotel room, or it was just too much because they were such sort of revered stars. Have we moved past that completely?
I think that was the attempt, and that was the ambition with the film. First of all, is to drop our own conditioning of how we look at these relationships. Secondly, to make sure that we could try as observational about these characters and their decision and choices without putting a lens of judgment on it. I think it was so hard for us to do it earlier because generally, I think it's our own conditioning, and our conditioning comes from having watched hundreds of romantic films in a certain way that you feel scared to step out of it. So I think, for one, you need actors and collaborators who are bold enough not to be judged, and they can understand stories outside of who they are in real life. It doesn't necessarily mean, there's another thing. I feel I'm interested in exploring interesting characters, not necessarily likable characters. So that's the kind of conversation we are having right from the beginning. I find these characters extremely interesting for the choices they made, but they may not be conventionally likable. So we were all on the same page going on that journey. Secondly, I have to say, I was surprised and shocked, having seen enough of these films and read enough books which kind of deal with murkier, relationships. I was surprised with my own fear and judgments and conditioning while writing a scene or while directing a scene. Oh no, let's not do that. Maybe somebody won't like it. But would that happen in real life? Yes, it would. So how do we I think it's been a huge process for me to break my own conditioning, and I'm sure everybody here feels the same way. We've discussed scenes of how it would happen, how this conversation would happen. And even though it may feel like, oh no, would this be not likable? Maybe. But I think if you can give audiences enough insight into characters and why they are making these choices, then you can hopefully get them to come on your side. And I've had a very small taste of that with Kapoor and Sons, but with this one, the characters are stepping into even more grayer zones. So, and as you said, people are not used to watching these kind of choices being made by the protagonist. It's been as I said, pattern breaking, condition breaking for me, and I hope I can continue to go in this direction. I just really, with every story, I want to take something that breaks the conditioning, my own conditioning down. Keeping my fingers crossed, and I hope we are on that path.
Deepika, was it scary for you at all? Because I'm trying to think as he talked about any film in which you've not been likable, and honestly, I can't come up with any.
No, and like he said, it's not about, very often the characters are not necessarily written as likable.
Yeah.
But it's what you bring to those characters as an actor that you make them likable. So even, you know, even the characters that you're talking about, for all you know, they were not necessarily written like that. So no, I wasn't scared at all. And I think especially with this film, because you're also exploring, like he said, why this character's making these choices, where they're coming from. So the minute you have context and you're looking inside their mind and inside their brain and the way they're thinking, I'd say if not completely judgmental, at least it's less judgmental, you know.
Right.
And you may not identify with it. You may not, you know, you're probably sitting there saying, I would never make that choice, or I would never do this. But you're at least being able to observe and say, okay, but I understand where this person's actions or thoughts are coming from. So yeah, I mean, I think that's as far as, you know, this character for me is concerned. So also, I think the minute you stop judging yourself, you stop judging your character, or you start doing it with more conviction because you know where you're coming from. I think your energy automatically transfers onto the character that you're playing and eventually what the audience receives. So no fear at all in that sense.
Okay, I've been asked to wrap. So last question. You know, I'd done an interview with Diljit Dosanjh before Urta Punjab had released. Okay, and he was telling me about how when he was shooting for Urta Punjab, he would wake up like really excited and say to himself, "Chal kake, Kareena Kapoor ke saath scene karna hai." So Ananya, Dhairya, and Siddhant, I have to ask you: did you guys wake up like that and say, "Chal, Deepika Padukone ke saath scene karna hai"?
Exactly like that. I think we all collectively got up and were like, Deepika ke saath scene karna hai.
And
Honestly,
that's Ananya for you at her sarcastic best.
I'm not being sarcastic. No, but honestly for me, because I think me and everyone has been completely in awe of Deepika. I think as a girl growing up and wanting to be an actor, I think she's inspired me to choose some very different characters, you know, with Veronica or her character as Piku. I think she's really set the bar very, very high, and she's actually taken that first step and been very brave and done some really different path-breaking characters and roles. So honestly, for me, she's been an inspiration even before I was working with her. And I think I really admire her as a human being now that I've gotten to know her, because she made us all feel very, very, very comfortable, very warm. Just her behavior on set, being who she is, she takes care of everyone. She makes sure that everyone is in a good mood. She just small things like saying good morning to everyone. It really does set the tone of the day. So, and she loves feeding people. She loves hosting people. Like, she just has these very homely vibes to her. So I think I learned that, like, I was anyway inspired by her as an actor, but I think I'm very inspired by her as a human afterward.
Deepika, you didn't say good morning to me even once. What is you talking about? I want next time when you're on set, I want a good morning.
I used to touch your feet. I didn't have to say good morning. I'd straight go for your feet.
You'll have to bend a lot though.
You should know one last thing is that this is all these actors are above 5'7", 5'8", which is much taller than I am, and that was the hardest thing about directing. Nothing, no choreography of chaos was as hard as trying to just look them in the eye, because I needed apple boxes and chairs and stools, and so that's been the hardest part of directing this film, because you know, you can't really be authoritative when you are looking up at a person who's 7 inches taller than you are. So,
Shakun, I hear you. It's the story of my life.
Yes, I saw your picture with Deepika and I felt that feeling literally exactly how you would have felt it. So you and me are together on this. And that's why I'm very happy about this digital things, because nobody can really tell your height.
Okay, but I still want Siddhant and Dhairya, last words to you. What was it like? Come on. You couldn't have been cool about it. She's too much of a
Go
goddess.
first.
I mean, that was my parents actually. Ud ja, kaam pe jana, Deepika Padukone ke saath. It was my mom, it was my dad. Every night I used to come back from shoot, and they used to be, really excited about this. They are like huge fans, and obviously I am, but more than me, they were very, very, very excited that I'm, working with her. And yeah, I mean, it was that feeling. So it was, I think, my whole family was like really pumped about it.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. No, I think they both have summed it up perfectly well, because here's this person who's over the years, who's garnered so much respect, commands so much love and respect, and she lives up to every bit of it. When you meet her, you immediately feel that, it's just not somebody that you're meeting. You immediately feel that difference, and it's her acute sense of awareness of what those around her need, and she just makes you feel comfortable immediately. So one would think that someone in a position as mine would be nervous, and I was, but it's just credit to her. The moment you meet her, she'll know. She because she's so sensitive and perceptive, she just knows what the situation needs, what the person needs, and you'll be okay with it. So thank you, Deepika.
Thank you. Everyone should say thank you. Everyone, come on. Thank you. Thank you. We love you.
Thank you.
We love you, Deepika.
That's my cue to say thank you, guys, and cannot wait to see Gehraiyan. It just looks lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Hi guys, if you like this video, please subscribe to Film Companion.